Hello, everybody. This is Cyrus. It's nice to be here again, and I hope you're having a lovely evening, morning, afternoon, wherever in this world you happen to be. I know some of you guys do not like the UFO related updates like the previous video, so I'll have a proper video about out of body, afterlife related stuff. And this involves a scam. If you want to call it that, I'm still not sure what it was, but this kind of weird situation in some corner of the woods on the astral plane that I want to talk about from an experience I had a little while ago, and I've been meaning to share this experience, and so I hope that you enjoy listening to it and that you can learn a little bit from it, especially if you happen to find yourself dead, which will actually happen, believe it or not, one day. It could happen tomorrow, it could happen in, a few decades. But it's good to know about some of these things for once you transition to these other dimensions that we talk about. And some of us get a sneak preview with out-of-body experiences, and that's kind of what I talk about, in my books and on this channel. But before we go any further, you are watching Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, and so as the name of the channel implies, that's what you're going to get when you're on this channel. So if you're looking for cat videos and you're looking for analysis about PewDiePie's latest video, you're not going to find that on this channel. You're going to find supernatural stuff. So if you're coming to complain about what the content of the channel is, well, YouTube is a very, very big place, and this is a very, very small channel, so there is no reason for you to be here. But if you're any of the now many people in the community, then I'm happy for you to be here and watching this stuff, and you can help keep this operation going by hitting that subscribe button, the notification bell, and make sure you are still subscribed. I've been getting messages from people telling me that they have been getting unsubscribed from this channel by YouTube, even though they regularly watch the videos. It's not really supposed to happen, but it has been happening. Also been getting informed that this channel has been disappearing off of the recommended video feed, and which means you have to punch the notification bell if you definitely want to be alerted to new videos that come out. So it's a push against YouTube that tries to squelch alternative and spiritual channels, because they're run by a bunch of materialist scumbags, and they use algorithms and formulas to keep information they don't like pushed to the bottom because they are scumbags. So just FYI, that's how you can kind of help keep this whole show on the road. To continue, I've shared a lot of interesting experiences on this channel, and I talk about a lot more of them in books, like my most recent one, The Afterlife and Beyond. But it's always interesting when I get one that I feel is definitely worth sharing, that has some meaning attached to it that I really think that people should know about, and that's what happened a few nights ago. And so here's what happened. So I became aware of being in an astral state, and I realized that what my astral parallel self was doing was looking for or tracking down this girl I know. And I was kind of checking on her. I wanted to see how she was doing, and I think I had a sense that maybe she wasn't doing that well. But I didn't have any details because it's a memory convergence, so I get some memories about what I'm doing on that side, but then I kind of I get all the memories of my life here, and then I'm kind of like these two people, the astral Cyrus, the earth Cyrus, they kind of converge together, so I don't have full access. So I'm kind of going between being lucid and astral projecting to then kind of going, fading into the distance, and becomes like a dream. Then I'm out of body again, and I'm back in that environment for real. So I'm kind of going between these two states, which is not that uncommon. In fact, it's actually preferable, because in the old days I would just be in the state, and then I would lose it, then I'd wake up, or it would completely end. But now it's I go in between being astral consciousness and then kind of falling into a dream state and being back into astral consciousness again. So I'm flipping between these two, which means I'm actually in a way maintaining the state longer. If I get better at it, then I can fully get rid of the dream layer and then be fully immersed into the astral state. And again, this comes with symptoms of astral projection, which don't happen with lucid dreaming. That includes vibrations and energetic disconnection feelings that happen when your consciousness properly shifts, so you know you're in a different dimension. Okay. So anyway, so my astral self was checking on this girl. So I went to this kind of mall, corporate type area. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was, an urban center, and there was this. I'm going to call it a company, but God knows what's really going on. There was like this company, and it had a very peculiar display going on. There was basically a bin of molten magma, of lava, and it was burning yellow hot lava. People were getting into the lava and using it like a hot tub, like taking a warm bath. And people were watching, and they were mystified by what they were seeing, like it was maybe some kind of magic trick. Why would they be mystified by this? Because something I've learned from my exploration of the other side is that when you're in the astral body is not invulnerable. It can be destroyed. And I talk about this number of videos back. If you search through the channel, there's a lot of videos about a lot of topics. By the way, you can find a lot of information by going through the archives. But I do talk about this if you go way back. And if your astral body is destroyed, for example, by falling into lava, then you become disembodied. And apparently it's a big problem, because now you no longer have the astral body manifestation, and you may need help to reform an astral body. So it's not, so people avoid getting their astral bodies destroyed. You don't want it to happen. Paramahansa Yogananda talks a little bit about this, and even talks about astral wars that have happened. So I mean, there's still this kind of vulnerability. I never believed this. I never believed this until I began having serious conversations with people on that side and having them tell me about their world. And then whenever I have asked about this topic, including to my deceased mom, everyone has told me the variation of the same thing. And so have other astral explorers. So I have to take it seriously. Okay, so we know that the astral body is vulnerable. You can end up disembodied or quote dead, and then it's apparently not so easy to get back into a new body again. You become just floating consciousness until you can re-manifest, and you may need help from much higher level beings to give you a new astral body. So I mean, it's not quite like here in this world. You can die if you hit your head on a log, on a tree branch. You can hit your head on a tree branch and die. That's how vulnerable we are. We're like eggs on this planet. Okay, we're so vulnerable. On the astral side, we're not vulnerable like that, but we can still. We're not as vulnerable. We're still vulnerable. It's not as bad as that. So it's a pretty crazy thing to see people going into molten hot lava and they're not being affected by it. How is this possible? So this was kind of like a display, and it was also a sales strategy, right? So this group, and God knows who these people are, they had, I don't want to say manufactured, they had discovered a way to basically give your astral body these kind of superpowers, right? So they were calling themselves like immortals, and they were impervious, omniscient, and that their astral bodies, they could withstand anything, and that they were selling this ability. So of course, I came to investigate, and I came into what was kind of like their office. There was a big African-American guy there and a bunch of other people, and I got a major cult vibe as soon as I walked into this place. Like, this was it reminded me when one time I was back in school, I was doing a report on the Tucson Scientology office, and I because the assignment was to go someplace that makes you uncomfortable. This is for my journalism minor as one of the final exams. Wonderful class, by the way. And I picked Scientology, and so I went and interviewed the head people in there. I got like this really bad vibe, and it became this joke like all throughout the school that semester about because my essay it was a funny essay. Anyway, so it was the same feeling I got, like you feel something's not right, they're trying to sell me something. So I wanted to see how, what is the process that they do to make you, to give you these powers, right? And so so there was this flower, and it was this really beautiful violet purple kind of glowing flower, and they have it laid out on, I want to say like a dish, but it's like, it's like a big like glass sort of platter, whatever you want to call it. And they had the petals laid out. So they would simply take one of the petals. This was a very, like, whatever this flower was, everything on that side and this side are energy systems. And so things are coded with special energies. And whatever the energy was from this flower, like it's almost like they took something from some higher plane, higher dimension. They were able to contain it into the astral spectrum because there was a lot of energy coming off this flower, and very beautiful looking flower. You take one of the petals of this flower. It almost reminded me of like a Black Lotus, You guys out there who played Magic the Gathering, you know what I'm talking about. The magical Black Lotus. Well, I don't think it was a lotus though. It looked like, I don't know, like a tulip or something. I don't really know. But it was like this beautiful purple violet color. You take one petal and you put it in a kind of like a mortar and pestle. You grind it into like a paste almost. They mix it with something, and then you drink down the paste. And then when you do that, you walk through a machine, and then the machine does something, and that maybe that the machine activates whatever that energy is, but it's also branding you basically with what the company wants from you. Okay, so you go through that process, and by doing so, you're signing a contract as well. So I kind of watch how this is happening. I go into I keep looking around the office and talk to some of the people there, and to get some information about what does this contract entail. And among other things, you have, so once you join this group and you've taken this plant and you've become, your astral body is impervious. Okay, so you get what they're calling like this kind of gift of immortality, right? That's what they're calling it, which is silly because everybody's already immortal. It's like I think they're appealing to people's earthly instinct still, maybe. So once you get this ability, what you're giving in exchange is subservience to whoever these people are. Okay. Obviously, this is, we're going into like bad idea territory very fast. So I was inquiring about the contract, and in addition, by the way, another effect of this, which was also really tempting people, is some people have a difficult time like age regressing themselves, and this very quickly puts people at like the age 21 again. Like if someone is kind of stuck like an old man and they come in, they take this without having to do any of the inner work, it's like it just immediately starts regressing them back to being age 21 again. So again, very, very luring for people who are kind of stuck in one age, because now you don't have to do any work. You can just become young again. So I was asking about the contract, and so one of the things you have to do is you have to disconnect from your friends and family, or specifically your family. And so you actually literally have to go on your social media accounts and your email and remove your family members from those accounts. And yes, in the Astral, you have Facebook and you have social media websites. So among other things, you have the internet. So you're actually supposed to go in there and disconnect from your family. And so I said, okay, wait, so you have to disconnect on social media? I'm like, I'm cool with that. I can disconnect off social media, but you mean you can? I wouldn't be able to go to see my family again? And then they started talking among each other because they weren't sure. And then they said, okay, yeah, according to this, you can visit them at these times to bring a gift, like a bottle of wine or something, but that's all you can do. So you can only see your family again if to like every now and then bring them a gift or something, but you're not supposed to maintain a relationship with your family once you've signed this contract and you've joined this group. Um, now I'm like, okay, this is seriously messed up. But I'm just like, I want to go find my friend. So I found my friend, and it's this girl, and she's there, and she's part of the group now. And we catch up, and I don't have enough memory of who she was, but she was quite fond of me. I think she was like crushing on me, thought of me as like a boyfriend, and I'm probably neither here nor there about that. But I talked to her for a while, and I realized she was part of this cult, and they had now had control over her life basically. But they were all convincing themselves, hey, look at what I can do now. I'm like impervious. I can bathe in hot magma and do whatever I want. And I'm this very young age. I'm beautiful looking and all this great stuff. It's just the downside is now I'm a slave to whatever this group is. But hey, it's wonderful, Cyrus. You need to join us. Come join the party. I'm talking to this girl. I want to get some more information about her now since I'm lucid again. I'm out of body again. So I ask her. It's like, all right, you are aware that I have a life on the Earth plane as well as here. And then she said something really funny. She said, yeah, because you have your photos on your Facebook page of your life on Earth. And she's like, why do you look so much sexier your life on Earth than you do here? I'm like, really? I didn't know that. She's like, yeah, you're hotter looking on Earth. Why is that? I'm like, really? I thought it was the other way around. I really don't know. So then I asked her, I'm like, did you have a life on Earth? And then she looked at me and she said, yeah. And I said, did you die? And is that why you're here now? And then she started to get a bit emotional. And she did not want to talk about this. And she said, yeah, I mean, she died, and she said it was very traumatic what happened to her, how she died. And, and then she, immediately just bringing up like her life here, and that how she had crossed over was like, emotional for her. And I apologized for bringing it up, but she was fine. She wasn't unhappy about that. But clearly, like, this girl was in a vulnerable state of mind at some point after she crossed over, and she ended up falling into the arms of this cult. And that's a problem, because I don't know now what is what is their motive? What do they want with people? Because I mean, the way these things work is that when you give power consent, you're in trouble. And this is the same. We talk about the archonic forces and some of those issues and the things we have to be so careful of. When you give consent to these powers, then you've signed yourself away to the whims of entities that maybe they want power, or maybe they want slaves, or God knows what. So what better way to give consent, or to get people to give you consent, than to dangle on a string something that looks really, really appealing, like having superpowers and being able to stand out from everybody else and being able to look physically very beautiful. And so they took whatever this flower was that has this effect. My guess is that this is not some big deal. There's realms and places where this kind of stuff probably grows naturally, or you can naturally become a higher vibrational being without having to take a flower to be able to do it. But they took that, they marketed it to be able to upgrade people. But then by doing so, they make them into slaves, to make them subservient to whatever their goals and interests are, which we don't know what those goals or interests are. And so God knows. So I hung out with these people for a while, and then it was time to go. And they asked me if I was ready, if I wanted to go through the process. And I'm like, I'll get back to you on that. And so I walked out the exit through the, this kind of looks like a big X-ray machine, kind of that people are walking through. And then there was one that you leave when you exit. One more thing I almost forgot to mention, just to add one more layer on top of this, there were all these little flying like robots, and they look kind of like eyeballs, and they had this kind of thing behind them that was connected, so they were like these little scanning droids flying around. And what these little scanning eyeball droids were doing is when members of this group were coming in, walking around, they would fly up and scan people, and it was immediately able to tell if that person was keeping up their contract or not. So if the contract was, if they did something, if they went and hung out with their family, like this droid was scanning their consciousness or whatever, it could tell, and then it would be able to exact punishment on that person. I don't know in what way or how that works. Also pretty frightening. So now I'm leaving the place, and you have these little buzzing scanner droid eyeball things like checking me out as I'm leaving, seeing what I'm all about. And I'm just like, I'm getting the hell out of here. And then not long, I left this compound, and then back in my body. So that is my warning, is God knows again who these people are, what they want, what that was all about, but those are the kinds of scams and things that you have to be careful of when you find yourself on the astral side. So never, hold your consent as your treasure, and don't give it to any entity or any group by any means. And if possible, help your friends out, make sure that they don't fall victim to these types of things either. That's my story. I hope you liked it, and hope it serves some people out there as, once you die, maybe you'll remember this video and it might be of some service. So this is Cyrus. Thanks for watching. You can support this work by going to the Patreon, patreon.com/afterlife topics, or sign up for classes. We have some cool guests coming up. Like next week, actually, we have a really cool guest, and you can go behind the scenes and talk to the guests and work with me one-on-one. Or you can also, I do consultations, coaching, and so if you want to learn about out-of-body experiences and communicating with deceased loved ones, I do that as well. So you can contact me at cyrus@cyruskirkpatrick.com. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it, and I will see you guys on the next one.